Men should atone for the patriarchal crimes of the past. Welcome to the new year. So far, much the same as the preceding one. Although, to be fair, this article does sneak its way in at the very tail end of 2024, December 30th. So I do suppose it is theoretically, technically possible that our James Bond hopeful here has changed his mind in the last 48 hours, but somehow I doubt it. And that is, of course, the funny part, that this is coming from James Bond, or at the very least, a James Bond hopeful. As here we have James Norton, the aforementioned James Bond hopeful, saying that men should atone for the patriarchal crimes of the past. James Bond, telling men to apologize for patriarchy. Now that is some parody level shit right there, holy hell. I absolutely adore that. That's fantastic. I mean, it is James Bond, goddammit. This is the action hero's action hero. He was the action icon for, damn it, decades, literally decades and decades. He was the man's man. He was the guy, he would run into a firing line of men with machine guns and emerge victorious on the other side with a hot blonde babe in his arms and a flesh wound to the shoulder just to demonstrate that he'd been there. He was the alpha. And this is 2024. Oh well, the future 2025 James Bond. Oh boy, and I thought Daniel Craig did a lot of damage to the franchise. And oh boy did he, good God. Oi, Daniel Craig is a man for whom I harbor deep-seated dislike and outright hatred. It is remarkable how much I can dislike a man whilst knowing so little about him. But the damage he did to James Bond, not by himself, mind you, but as a part of a team of people trying to undermine, deconstruct, and destroy the very essence of 007, to the point of indeed featuring a black woman as 007, has been rather remarkable. And this used to be one of the great British cultural exports. I mean, James Bond, the English gentleman agent, the spy, was like the defining English cultural thing, alongside, I don't know, dogs that can't breathe, and more recently still, homoerotic cars. Somehow, I doubt that's going to have quite the longevity of James Bond, frankly, and to be fair, he looks more Bond-esque than Craig, so that's something, I guess. Still not quite my preferred candidate, which is, I mean, come on, Jesus, come on. This isn't hard, this is not difficult to think about, this isn't like one of those, like, oh my god, we can't find the right person casting decisions. This one's pretty gosh darn obvious, in my humble opinion, but oh well. So this comes in an interview, of course, where he goes, what interested me was the question of what it is to be a modern man, and his answer was to be a cuck. Hey, I mean, I can't fault his reasoning, I do suppose. Post-Me Too with the attempt to rebalance the patriarchal crimes of the past. That's not really what Me Too is doing, it's more along the lines of well, yet another failed power grab, really. As, I love this too, the Me Too movement? How long ago was that now? What kind of 2014 talking points are we revisiting here? With a lot of men, there's a misconception that what should be doing is making space, stepping back, and almost becoming passive, when instead you have to be proactive and sometimes confrontational. You've got to call out the sexism. You've got to stop your bro from trying to hit on a chick on the street, like that commercial. Good God. Ah yes, James Bond. No, brother. Don't hit on the hot female. Good God. I mean, comments like these should automatically disqualify him from the role, frankly. A role which in and of itself is in not a very good position right now, as Amazon, having bought up MGM Studios, the ones making James Bond, have gotten into a heated row with the owner of the rights to James Bond, with both of them wanting, in many ways, equally terrible and equally woke, awful things, so we're really just lucky that the two have butted heads together and can't agree on quite how to continue annihilating the legacy of Ian Fleming. I mean, hey, sometimes evil fights evil, and that's a good thing, as is it in this case, as the previous rights owner was apparently all fine with black female James Bond, but Amazon over-commercializing the character, that's a step too much right there. And to be fair, with some of the ideas that they apparently had, like a spin-off show based on Moneypenny, why? I'm not. What would she even do? The magical, mysterious office place adventures of Moneypenny. Watch as she shoots down James Bond's approaches yet again. You could make a sort of a slapstick comedy of it, I suppose. Bond's ever more ridiculous attempts to seduce her as he tells him to go fuck himself. I'm not convinced that this would really be that effective of a TV show, honestly. And even James Bond himself, you could do a James Bond television series. Something along the lines of, I don't know, not quite a monster per week, but more along the lines of a villain a season, right? Where you have a long series with several smaller plot lines in it, where James Bond is infiltrating this, stealing that, spying on this, etc., assassinating that government stooge or agent or whatever over there, but above it all is a more looming threat, an end-of-season kind of thing, where the big guy villain that's been hinted at throughout the entirety of the season reveals himself, and the agent has to survive his greatest challenge yet. That could work, as you could spend a lot of time building up the anticipation. Bond goes on a mission to steal some data from a North Korean or whatever dictator, and whilst doing so, he discovers a North Korean special operative wielding a strange and far too high-tech weapon, some kind of laser gun or something crazy, right? And he's, they shouldn't have this. I gotta bring this back home to Britain. And Q investigates and goes like, yeah, no, there's no way the North Koreans could have this. We've never even seen this technology. And what's this weird image of a claw there on the side of it? And then you figure out eventually that this is a vast, shadowy organization that's about to take over the world or something. That could work. Lean into the, 80s and 90s spy action thriller suspense of it, the larger-than-life plot. Do that. That could work very, very well. But only if James Bond is actually James Bond. That's the thing. James Bond is not a weak character. He doesn't fail. He doesn't fuck up. He is suave, he is confident, he is expert in everything he does. He needs to ooze and radiate confidence. He's the guy who, as in my preferred iteration, largely because it was the one I grew up with, Pierce Brosnan, who drives a tank out of a Russian armory, head sticking out of the hatch, with a goddamn smile on his face. That's James Bond, okay? Not really this. And certainly not this. Oh god, Jaguar. Now there's another potentially problematic crossover, isn't it? Oh boy. And not this either. This is James Bond right here. Although, I will say, I wouldn't mind if we waited another 10, 15 odd years, give Cavill a little bit more time to season, get that Sean Connery steel in him, that extra little touch of veterancy that made Connery probably, honestly, the best of the Bonds overall. That's what we need. And The odds of Amazon giving it to us are pretty much zero. The odds of the original rights owner giving it to us are also pretty much zero. In other words, James Bond is probably not a very hopeful IP for the future, particularly not if this is the direction we're going in, but hey, it's funny nevertheless. At this point, I have long since arrived at the level where when I am seeing the crumbling edifice of my childhood, I kind of just point and laugh now. I've cried my last tear over it. Until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Well then, have a good day.